You know why your success bothers people? Because some people were perfectly fine with you as long as they believed they were doing better than you, as long as they believed they were happier than you, as long as they believed they were stronger than you, as long as they believed they had something that you didn't, as long as they believed they were winning. And I know that sounds crazy because most of us don't want to believe that people around us compare themselves to us. We don't want to believe that the people we love, trusted, supported, encouraged, or sacrificed for were secretly keeping score. But if you ever look back on your life and wondered why certain people became distant or cold, resentful, critical, or uncomfortable after you started doing better, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because your success didn't just change your life. Your success changed their position. Think about that. Because when you were struggling, some people felt safe. When you doubted yourself, they felt secure. When you needed them, they felt important. When you stayed beneath them, they felt superior. But the moment you started changing, something happened. The moment you started healing, something happened. The moment you started trusting yourself, something happened. The moment you stopped asking for permission to exist, something happened. And suddenly people who used to be comfortable around you became uncomfortable around you. Not because you became a bad person, not because you became arrogant, not because you became selfish. No, but because you became someone they never expected you to become. And honestly, I think that's one of the hardest truths to accept. Some people don't necessarily want you to fail. They just don't want you to succeed beyond the version of you they've already accepted. They don't want you to become more successful than they imagined. They don't want you to become more happier than they expected. They don't want you to become stronger than they predicted because your success forces them to confront something. It forces them to confront the story that they told themselves about you. And sometimes the story they told themselves about themselves. Because if we're being honest, some people built their confidence on the assumption that you would always be beneath them. Not financially, not socially, not necessarily even physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. They assumed you would always be the one struggling, always be the one chasing, always be the one apologizing, always be the one trying to prove your worth, always be the one seeking approval. And then one day you stopped. And they didn't know what to do with that. Because think about how many people knew you when you didn't know your own value. Think about how many people knew you when you tolerated disrespect. Think about how many people knew you when you accepted less than you deserved. Think about how many people knew you when you were willing to sacrifice yourself to keep everybody else comfortable. They knew that version of you. They understood that version of you. They benefited from that version of you. But they don't understand this version. The version that trusts themselves. The version that walks away. The version that protects their peace. The version that says no. The version that doesn't need everybody's approval anymore. And maybe that's why your success bothers some people. Because every time they see you thriving, every time they see you healing, every time they see you choosing yourself, they're forced to confront something they never wanted to confront. They were wrong about you. They misjudged you. They underestimated you. They thought they had you figured out. They thought they knew how your story ended. And maybe that's why some people become so uncomfortable when they see you doing well. Because your success isn't just your success. Your success became evidence. Evidence that you were never who they thought you were. Think about how many people saw you at your lowest. They saw you cry. They saw you struggle. They saw you stay in situations you should have left. They saw you doubt yourself. They saw you break. And some of them quietly concluded they'll never recover. They'll never change. They'll never become more than this. They'll always need somebody. They'll always stay stuck. But then you did something they never expected. You survived. Not perfectly, not quickly, not without pain. But you survived. And surviving changed you because pain changes people. Not always immediately, not always beautifully, but pain changes people. Pain forces you to ask questions. Pain forces you to confront yourself. Pain forces you to examine your beliefs. Pain forces you to decide who you're going to become. And maybe that's the part they never saw coming. They thought the pain would destroy you. They never considered that the pain might educate you. They thought the betrayal would break you. They never considered that the betrayal might teach you. They thought that the rejection would define you. They never considered that the rejection might introduce you to yourself. Because if we're being honest, some of us didn't discover our value until somebody treated us like we didn't have any. Some of us didn't learn boundaries until somebody crossed all of them. Some of us didn't learn self-respect until somebody disrespected us. Some of us didn't learn self-trust until somebody betrayed us. Not because those experiences were good, but because those experiences forced us to become. And maybe that's why your success bothers some people. Because they remember who you used to be, but they don't know who you've become. And honestly, there may have been a time when you underestimated yourself too. There may have been a time when you believed your suffering was your identity. There may have been a time when you believed your mistakes were your identity. There may have been a time when you believed your hardest season was the end of your story, but it wasn't. Because pain isn't identity. Failure isn't identity. Rejection isn't identity. They're experiences. And experiences can be reinterpreted. You see, there's a verse that says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And whether you understand that spiritually, psychologically, or on a philosophical level, or simply through your own life experience, the principle remains the same. Human beings change when the way they see themselves changes. Because the moment you change the meaning of what happened to you, you changed yourself. The moment you stopped seeing yourself as broken and started seeing yourself as becoming, everything changes. The moment you stopped seeing yourself as rejected and started seeing yourself as redirected, everything changes. The moment you stopped seeing yourself as defeated and started seeing yourself as developing, everything changed. And honestly, that's one of the biggest reasons why I do what I do. I help people reinterpret their past so that they can reclaim their future. Because so many people aren't trapped by what happened to them. They're trapped by what they believe what happened meant. And when that meaning changes, everything changes. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I also wrote the book Limitless, From Power to Purpose. Because eventually surviving isn't enough. Eventually healing isn't enough. Eventually confidence isn't enough. Eventually you start asking a different question. Not, why did they do this to me? But now that I know who I am, what kind of future am I capable of creating? And that's the real transformation. Not proving other people wrong. Not getting revenge. Not making people regret underestimating you. The real transformation is becoming someone who no longer needs other people to understand their value. And maybe that's why your success bothers some people. Because every day you continue to heal, grow, build, trust yourself, and create a future that's greater than your past, you become living proof that they were wrong. They expected you to stay hurt. Yes. They expected you to stay dependent. They expected you to stay beneath them. They expected you to stay the version of yourself that they understood. They never expected you to become who you are becoming now. And honestly, maybe there was a time when you didn't expect that either. But look at you now. Still standing, still growing, still becoming, still learning. And maybe that's the greatest success of all. Peace, blessings, love, and power.